Welcome to another Noob Eternally suggestion review, and today we're taking a look at one of the most unique and complex Nobara suggestions I've ever seen. This one does a lot of stuff that sets it apart from other characters, some of it being really cool, and some of it just feeling like it's tacked on to be unique. But as a whole, it's an interesting suggestion to read that also has some images to go alongside it that make the suggestion more fun to look at. Before we review the suggestion though, make sure to subscribe for more JJS content and to help support my channel. Now, let's get into the video. This suggestion comes from Corgi Master on Discord, who asked me to review their suggestion a while back. There's a lot of interesting gimmicks here that all tie into each other, and because of that, when it comes to moves, at least for the base, I'll first explain their function before I actually give my thoughts, because it won't make sense without you knowing everything. First, let's talk about the passive effects. To start with the passives, Nobara has 70 HP, which is crazy, as in probably way too little. For reference, Megumi and Yuji have 85 HP, while Hikari and Gojo have 100. So this would make Nobara the lowest HP character in the game, about 30 HP lower than the max HP. A lot of combos in the game can do 20 damage at the very least, even if someone has a ragdoll cancel. And without ragdoll cancels, most characters go over 50. Nobara is basically getting two-shot by every character in the game, and that's a huge restriction on her. I haven't gone over the rest of the movesets, so it's a bit too early to decide if this low HP is justified or not, but I already think this is pushing it. Nobara would have to be incredibly difficult to hit, or have some incredibly broken gimmick to justify her being able to be killed so easily. It just feels like way too little HP in my opinion for how high JJS damage is. As for the R special, this one is complicated. Pressing R makes the user throw 4 nails imbued with cursed energy. These nails float in place, and the user can launch each nail with M1s. Landing a nail will give a resonance charge, and missing them grants a hairpin charge, which is a mechanic that is explained later in the suggestion. The nails also disappear after a short duration, and other Nobara players can interact with your nails. The move in total does 6 damage, which, if I'm interpreting it correctly, is 1.5 damage from each nail, and the nails don't stun, ragdoll, hit grounded, and also can be blocked, making them very easy to deal with under most circumstances. They can also be countered, so Yuji players are going to devour Nobara players that try zoning with this. However, despite how easy it is to counter a neutral, you can get around that and land your nails resonance charges without much problem by simply comboing into it, as the author explains in their message. The first move is basically an R special, but better. It makes the user hammer a nail and fling it, and the user can use it 3 times before it goes on cooldown, which I would compare to how Divine Dogs works. Like the R special, a missed nail gives a hairpin charge, and the landed one gives a resonance charge. Using the move in the air lets you aim the nail, like how Gojo can aim his awakening moves in his ult, which makes it easier to hit grounded players. Each nail also ragdolls opponents, and while the nails are blockable, they hit ragdoll as well, so you can probably use these after 4 M1s to land them for free. Now, before we move on to the other moves, let's jump ahead a little and explain resonance and hairpin charges. Nails can hit nothing, in which case they fall to the ground after reaching maximum distance and create a hairpin charge where they land. They can also hit an object and create a hairpin charge there instead. And finally, they can hit a player, which creates a resonance charge. The other won't be an indicator, judging from what the suggestion says. There is a limit of 5 hairpin charges and 5 resonance charges, though the resonance cap is per player and not per user, unlike hairpin charges. These charges are used for moves 2 and 3 and the ultimate. They're also all one-time use, and after a charge is used, it disappears and needs to be regained. The charges will be now explained with the 2 and 3 moves. Moving back to the moves, move 2 is the one related to resonance charges. The user snaps their fingers, meaning a small windup, before dealing damage to nearby enemies that have resonance charges, with the damage scaling on charges. The radius of the move is slightly bigger than a domain expansion, so you won't have to worry about missing it, but you can't detonate a charge halfway across the map. This ragdolls people, hits grounded, cannot be countered, but can be interrupted. The move itself is also blockable, and as for how the damage works, there's a base damage of 8, with each resonance charge giving 1 more damage. Judging from this, the max damage is 12, 8 damage from the base charge plus 4 more from the forward charges on top of the first one. There's also a variant done by using 2 and R. This makes the user lunge forward and do a grab like cursed strikes, doing the same damage as a normal resonance, but adding 1 more charge. This means that if you have 0 charges, you can use the move and still get the base 8 damage. The move Ragdolls does not hit grounded and can be both countered and blocked, like a non-combo extending Curse Strikes. Pretty simple move, but it works as a variant. The other charge-based move is Hairpin. This makes all your missed nails detonate, doing 3 damage each, and with the limit, you can deal about 15 damage with this move. They can basically act as bombs that you can detonate whenever you want. You can't selectively detonate the charges, and using the move detonates all of them at once, with no range limit on the detonation as well. The move ragdolls and hits grounded players, cannot be countered, has a very short startup, cannot be interrupted, and cannot be blocked, so the only counterplay here is dodging a thing and not stepping on the mines in the first place. Finally, we have Squeaky Strikes, which is basically just a Fever Breaker had a baby with Curse Strikes. It's a blockable grab that does a bunch of strikes, which can hit bystanders before ragdolling at the end. It deals a total of 10 damage and cannot hit grounded targets directly, though the indirect damage can hit grounded players if that situation ever happens somehow. Now that we've gone over the base moves, let's actually talk about them and how they mesh together. The overall design works really well, and I can tell what the author is going for. The Nobara user would ideally want to use their R special to spam nails all over the place, both to deal damage with resonance and set up traps that can either deal damage or deny area with Hairpin. The first move will also help with that purpose, but is more combat oriented, and you can sneak into combos as well as more accurately place your nails with the aerial variant letting you aim downwards. Both of them work for zoning in a sense, since they are projectiles, and since it's really spammable, it might actually end up being oppressive to fight. From what I can imagine, fighting against a Nobara player will basically be a game of trying to get in close to land combos and destroy their HP bar, while they keep distance by spamming nails to stop you and set up landmines of Hairpin to make it even harder to close the distance. Like old Megami before the Rabbit Escape changes, I definitely see Nobara getting absolutely wrecked by Yuji, since his entire moveset is based around mobility, which will make it hard to keep distance. And he also has Manji Kick, which, as a whole, just screws up zoning. Nobara can probably keep distance really easily though, by just spamming aerial nails, since, when you're in the air, you're pretty much invincible. This moveset's nail gimmick also feels like it might favor console autolock on players a lot, since you can completely negate the whole need to aim with that, and it also looks like a moveset that is going to be heavy skill as well if you don't have that auto lock on, since you're going to be forced to aim with your mouse, as well as know when you can safely attack and how to use your cooldowns effectively. It's complex, but it looks fun with the whole gimmick of setting up mines with Hairpin and keeping people off of you. My main worry is the damage numbers of the moveset. It looks like you really have to set up your nails and land a bunch of them for resonance charges just to do a measly 12 damage, plus whatever damage you get with your moves setting that up, which isn't really that much either. You're roughly getting 30 damage if my estimates are right off of each combo, and that's incredibly low when other characters do around 50 damage per combo, not to mention that their combos are simple. It feels like there's not enough payoff for playing around the gimmick, and even if it's not hard to land resonance charges, they barely do any damage under the suggestion. Hairpin charges, on the other hand, only do about 15 damage if you land all of them as well, which will be extremely hard against good players, and is still a very small payoff for basically setting off 5 mines on an opponent. Basically what I'm saying is that the damage numbers of suggestion are super undertuned. They're too low for how hard the user needs to work to get their gimmick set up, and also too low for how little HP the user has as well. It's really weak. The fourth move as well is just bad. It's a reskin Fever Breaker, and Fever Breaker sucks. Yes, it plays into the gimmick by ragdolling for combos, but you're not going to get to use this outside of combos because it's blockable and short-ranged. It's a bad move that's limited to combos and gives you very little payoff for actually landing it, which is both boring and undertuned. It should be closer to rapid punches, as in being a guard break, so that Nobara has a way to shut down turtling instead of just being completely shut down by it. But with the way it is now, it's just a bad move. In a nutshell, she needs better stats, and the Squeaky Hammer move feels too weak and boring. Moving on to the Awakening, I'll be brief. Using the Awakening animation sets off every Hairpin and Resonance charge, but it doesn't heal you, which is pretty crazy in my opinion. To sort of make up for this, you get 2 passives. The first makes it so that getting a kill heals you for 10 HP. The second makes you mark any players you hit, which ties into the gimmicks here. Personally, I don't agree with your Awakening not healing you. Even if Nobara has lifesteal on kill, that only matters if she's able to get that kill in the first place, and not healing makes this impossible to use as a comeback Awakening, or anything like that, because rather than turning the tables by Awakening at low health, she'll just get one comboed and die. It feels like the author's trying too hard to make them unique by making her not heal, and it's just a bit of an unnecessary thing that makes her way too weak. The first move is Sacrifice. You deal 15 self-damage, but you deal 35 damage to any players you've marked, and it's pretty much impossible to stop the move besides interrupting it, which isn't feasible due to the short startup and high range. The concept on its own isn't that bad, especially how easy it is to get the marks when you look at the other moves in suggestion that I'll cover later. However, I definitely have some concerns with how little HP Nobara has, because 15 self-damage on a character of 70 max HP is about 20%. It's a lot of self-damage. Add on to that the fact that you don't get healed by your awakening, and you honestly speaking aren't going to get to use this that much because you'll probably end up dead. The healing from getting a kill isn't really enough to make up for this either. However, I will say that the concept of the move itself isn't that bad, and this, paired with the other moves that let Nobara mark many people at once, could let her deal a lot of damage to a lot of people at once. It's an interesting idea, just hampered a bit by the really poor base stats that the author gave Nobara, and the lack of healing on awakening, which I personally think should be removed. The second move is Cripple. This makes the user puncture their leg, dealing 10 self-damage, but also dealing 25 damage to any marked targets. This also debuffs them, reducing their movement by 30% and their dash distance by half for about 5 seconds. There's no way to counter it besides interrupting it, like Sacrifice. Most of my thoughts on this move are the same as my thoughts on Sacrifice. It's a nice debuff that should ideally help set Nobara up for her other moves, or let her keep people away so she can stall out cooldowns. The idea works, and I don't really have a problem with this move. Any problems I do have are more so with the low HP that the author gave her, and the lack of healing that makes Nobara's awakening feel less like a rampaging mode where you're stronger than everyone else, and more like a careful game of managing your HP with your moves, which is cool, but kind of undertuned for an awakening. I like the move, there's just stuff outside of the move that I don't like that much. The third move is called Bloodlust, and it's pretty straightforward. It's a faster version of Overwhelming Luck that has more hits in it, and it does 25 damage if every single hit lands, though that's probably not happening. The author writes that the main purpose of the move is for getting marks so that they can use their first 2 moves, and from looking at it, I think it works just fine for that role. It would let you mark a crap ton of people without having to actually put in a lot of work by landing an M1 or something, and there really isn't any way for your target to stop you without a counter, as is the case for Overwhelming Luck. It's pretty well designed and fits the awakening well, as well as shutting down runners and dealing with the stalling problem that a lot of awakenings tend to struggle with. Finally, there's Black Flash, which is the last move in the awakening. It's essentially a reskinned idle transfiguration that cannot be interrupted, and on contact, it pins the target and does a hit. If you press 4 again at the right time, it'll do 30 damage, and if you don't time it right, it'll only do 15. It's pretty simple, and would act as a great tool for chasing runners, since you can just use this to rush at them and grab yourself a free ragdoll without any risk to yourself, since you're invincible. It's more focused on 1v1s, but it'd work well as a move for finishing off any targets that are low on health to grab yourself that 10 HP heal, since if anyone's under 30 HP, you can use this move and kill them. It works as an awakening move. As a whole, the suggestion is really interesting, but it feels very undertuned in some aspects. There's a lot of numbers, specifically to health, lack of healing on awakening, and low base damage, that makes the character really weak when compared to others. Yes, she does have zoning, and what sounds like a really decent neutral, but so does Megami, and Megami can actually get really good damage off of his combos, while Nobara here has no M1 resets, and only gets good damage if she fulfills a lot of conditionals. With some damage buffs and a health buff, I think the suggestion would be well balanced, but there are a lot of problems here with the numbers. However, in terms of ideas, I like it a lot. There's a ton of creative stuff here, and creativity is good. Anyways, we're at the end of the video. If you enjoyed watching, make sure to subscribe for more Jujutsu Shenanigans content, and leave a comment letting me know your thoughts on the suggestion. I'm Eternally, thank you for watching, and have a good day. Bye.